Netflix and Build, a guide to successful relationships. Now, you're probably wondering, what the heck does Netflix and relationships have to do with your health? Well, everything, okay? Because as I
Yep.
say, your life affects your health, and relationships are an intimate part of your life. And so it's definitely going to affect your health. Because if you think about it, when you're in a good relationship, you feel good, and honestly, when they do like the studies, it noticed that people who are in good or happy relationships, it's thriving, that your health actually is better. There are studies that show that you are
Mhm.
better. And of course, the opposite is true. When you're in a not so good place with your spouse, things are not so good, then that can lead to illness. It can lead to diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. All these things can happen, and the main factor is the quality of the relationship. So today we're going to discuss how you can have healthier relationships and a healthier you. If this is your first time joining, welcome. I am Dr. Ashley Booth. I'm a board certified family medicine physician. I'm also the owner of Healing Beyond the Stethoscope Primary Care, and I'm your host today. And I have a very special guest and a friend of the show who is going to join us. That is Dr. Christopher Pugh. He is an accomplished educator, author, and coach, and he is passionate about emotional intelligence, and effective communication. So, welcome again, Dr. Pugh, on the show.
Dr. Booth, thank you so much for your invitation and just overall your purpose and your initiative. I really appreciate what you're doing. These families really need to get back in the ones that I'm pertaining that I'm talking about. There are several functional families everywhere, but there are several families out here that want to function and just don't know how to function. So hopefully, some of the listeners, this is not a regular dating whose fault is it podcast today. This is basically a positive spin on how to build a functional relationship or rebuild one. A lot of people have let their relationships, whether it be family, um, professional, or romantic relationships, kind of fall to the wayside. And they're not bad people, but some people have bad skills. So we're not pointing the finger at the people, but we are pointing the finger at the skill set today. So thank you for that.
No, you're absolutely right. And I appreciate you saying that, because have to be intentional in how we approach relationships. And you and I had this conversation off camera, and we're talking about like relationships affect a lot of what we do, but a lot of times how people
Correct.
approach them may not be the
Mhm.
best way to do it. And like you said, we're not pointing fingers. We're just saying, hey, let's think about a different way to do it so that you can
Mhm.
thrive. Because one of the things that's out there now and that's really popular is Netflix and chill. But there is an issue, right? With that Netflix and
Love it.
chill. We're gonna Netflix and build today. So talk about some of
Right.
the concerns that you see when people set up their relationship on that whole like Netflix and chill kind of vibe.
Well, one of the patterns that I've been seeing ever since when I was young, there is a generational introduction to relationships. Now, one of the biggest things that I've had to learn was that it's hard to take politics out of any relationship, right? Anytime when we're having a relationship, there are two people, two souls, two spirits, two entities. At the end of the day, two sides coming together as one. And one thing I had to come to grips with, relationships thrive on people knowing how to handle conflict. There is no contact without conflict. Matter of fact, contact requires conflict. And a lot of times when we think that conflict is so negative, we take it so personal. One of the main things we have to find out is you have to have contact to even embrace each other. And sometimes the timing is off, sometimes the mindset is off, and most of the time the skill set is off. There's a culture clash, right? So a lot of us, we start talking about race and gender a lot, right? We even start talking about bank accounts, right? But a lot of people really just don't know how to talk about culture because unfortunately, we think gender is culture, we think race is culture, and we think our finances is a form of culture. A culture is a way you communicate how you exist on this planet, whether you know yourself or not, whether you know how to talk to other people or not. If you can read not only words, but a lot of people don't know body language is the first language. Do you know how many people I encounter that have no idea how to read body language? And I'm not talking about hints. I'm just talking about just regular old, when you walk into the room, do you know how people interpret your presence? Your presence says something, and it's not your responsibility to make people comfortable. That's not what I'm saying. But it is your responsibility to know what you're saying when you walk into the room. A lot of people just don't know it. And it's not a fault. It's just you may not know the language, right? And so one of the things I found out is that a lot of people get their relationship advice from movies, television shows, cartoons, and toys that we grew up with. That's one thing I'm paying close attention to, right? Notice, have you, Dr. Booth, have you heard people, not just on social media, because social media is just a mirror to what we've been seeing in real life, right? It's nothing
Right.
different. It's just we're seeing more people say the same stuff we've been seeing, right? So,
Mhm.
have you noticed a lot of people start talking about, well, I left because I wasn't happy, right? You hear that word
Right.
happiness thrown around, right? And I used to wonder, I'm saying, man, happiness is really like it must be the catalyst or the right now, but a lot of people are using happiness as a weapon. Have you noticed that?
Hmm.
And
I
I'm
haven't.
have
Explain
you
that. What does that mean?
okay. So what I have witnessed is that people will take a temporary emotion, which is happiness, right? They will take it and use it as a standard for lived experiences. So if they're not happy in the moment, they justify erratic or negative behavior because they don't have happiness in the last 5 minutes.
Ah,
So people are justifying horrendous behavior because they don't feel some type of stimulation or some type of rush or some type of gladness, right? And the reason why I brought up the word happiness, right, is because when I was growing up, I used to see the stories Snow White, Beauty and the
mhm.
Beast, Shrek, all of them. At the very end of the movie, what do they usually say?
They live
Happily
happily
ever
ever
after.
after. Mhm.
Okay, so, but unfortunately, when you give children that last sentence, but no one clarifies or give context to what that looks like, people draw conclusions. So you have a lot of adults running around planet Earth with a conclusion that they're supposed to be happy all the time. And if they're not, they're supposed to just jump out the movie. Because the movie never told me I was supposed to be sad. The movie never told me I had to work on my marriage. The movie never told me I had to work on my relationship. The movie never told me what it looks like to have kids and still foster the relationship. The movie never told me how to handle in-laws and friends who get married and how to handle grief. You understand what I'm saying? So
Right.
you have a lot of adults who still going off childhood conclusions, and they're trying to merge the two worlds together. If that makes any sense, that's what
Mhm.
I am noticing that a lot. So when someone says, "Well, I left because I wasn't happy," I say, "Okay, what did you do to make yourself happy?" Well, no, I just didn't feel it. It was a vibe. This new word
Mhm.
vibe now, right?
Right.
So the feelings, happiness, vibes, all these words are not related to the word work. WORK. Okay. Anything that's worth respecting requires work. I hope anybody who's listening to this podcast, I want you to hear me loud and clear. It's hard to respect something or anyone who doesn't
Mm.
require you to put in any type of investment. Because anytime when we work or invest, we see value, right? So anytime you like, say, I'm around with a lot of my women clients, right, who are looking. Some of them
Right.
are fresh out of a divorce, still wanting to get divorced. Some people just want to be single because they can't handle the rejection and disappointment, right? So now I'm looking at, okay, what is the expectation of a relationship? And I've noticed a cadence from a lot of people. This is men and women. They talk about who they want, but they rarely talk about who they want to be.
Mm.
They talk about who they want. It's almost a relationship is to serve me, right? Well, I found out that a lot of people is two things that causes intense sadness in all relationships. and I want people to hear me loud and clear, is selfishness and laziness.
Mm.
Those are the two catalysts for any destructive relationship. You can be selfish and you can be lazy. And then those two end up in contentment. A lot of people feel resentment. A lot of people start being angry because the value or the level of respect that comes with putting in the work, as soon as you lose respect, then that gives people the idea that it's okay to disrespect someone.
Mm.
And that's what we're seeing a lot on social media, on a lot of podcasts about relationships. It's about what you're not doing.
Right.
And I said, okay. Well, the reason why it looks like we're going to war is because a lot of people who are in thriving relationships, first of all, they're not on social media.
Mm.
Okay. A lot of people who it's hard to work and complain. I want everybody to know that. A lot of people who are working on their relationships don't have the energy or the focus to
Mm.
complain to the public because guess what they're doing? They're really working on their relation. It takes work and focus. It's hard to keep your family together and entertain the public. It's
Right.
hard, right? And so that's the reason why you have a lot of people in the public. And I want everybody to understand this too. It's a lot of people in the public that you see stirring up a lot of negativity with relationships. It's because it's good for business. Negativity sells.
Mhm.
So I don't want people to look at commercials and TV shows like reality. Just like I said before, I've noticed a lot of people who drew conclusions from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs or Princess and the Frog. Like it's media coverage and entertainment is not evidence. And I hope
Mm.
everyone knows that. That's to answer your question. I know I kind of went into different directions, but that's all the things that I mentioned are all the things that I'm seeing. There's laziness and selfishness that builds contempt for the person that you're with, right? So even if you get the person of your dreams, but you're not the person you're supposed to be, you can destroy the relationship because you're not even ready for what you prayed for, you know?
Wow.
So,
Right.
so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it.
And the other thing that it brings up to me too is especially that last point when you say that this person may not be ready. The other thing I'm
Hmm.
thinking about when people think of this whole Netflix and chill, it's like, okay, we're sitting here and we're watching a movie, but we haven't
Hmm.
discussed anything about each other. We haven't done the
Hmm.
things to kind of get to know each other. And that is
Right.
another thing that I'm seeing, because then that also affects communication because how do you approach a person when they're in this moment versus, because it's one way that you can, okay, we have like a surface discussion, we just sit and watch a movie, but then once life starts to happen, because life is not that movie and life is beyond just sitting down and watching a movie, at
Hmm.
some point we have to start having conversations about some important things too. So touch
Right.
on that part about like how to intentionally start having these conversations with each other.
Right. So one of the things I'm finding out is that people are using entertainment to say that they got to know someone, right?
Mm,
and and you don't know. I'll put like this. I always ask people, how do you really know someone, right? Because we use the word know, but when you
right.
start digging and asking people, so how do you get to know someone, then they were like, I don't know, it's a feeling. So if knowing someone is based off a feeling,
Mm,
it's already it's still not functional, I would say, right?
right.
And so remember, everybody thinks getting to know someone is based off a temporary feeling called happiness. So what they'll do is surround themselves with entertainment, make believe, and an escape from reality, right? So this is one of the things I'm figuring out, and I'm noticing this, and I'm hearing this from a lot of married couples, older married couples, right? Older married couples are letting us know that when we're recording, we didn't have a lot of real life situations that we had to work through. Only thing we did was go to dinner, went to movies, went to picnics. You saw how I entertained you. Did I open up your door? Did I get your drink? Like, you know what I mean? Just very
Right.
it's important, but it's also just the tip of the iceberg. Honestly, it's
Mhm.
really shallow when you start looking at the depths of real life experiences, right? So if relationships take work, I think the dating has to take work if you
Mm.
want a real way of getting to know the person. Because guess what happens? You don't know someone unless you're working right beside them. not when they're working for you, not when you're working for them. It's when both of y'all are doing the work. I'm talking about sweating, uncomfortable, sometimes angry, because a lot of people don't know you are marrying the person, you're marrying who they're going to be when they're upset.
Mhm.
Okay, when things are,
Right.
when, like, if you need to know if a person can't handle disappointment or constructive criticism, or they can't handle the truth. Look how many people believe they can't even talk to their spouse because it's two ways, right? Some
Mhm.
people don't think they can tell them the truth, and some people don't even know if they can tell the truth because they've been lying so long.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really just seeing how people are ill advised and under equipped to communicate and literally work. It's almost like this: being in a direct relationship with someone is a very important job, right? So when we just use entertainment to give people the job, it's almost like you run your own business, right?
Mhm.
When you run an interview, you still want to know their work because you ask for a resume. You may give them an internship to see how they work. What's the work ethic? I need to see if you can show up on time. I need to know how you treat other people because guess what? Customer service can really ruin a business, right? So,
Right.
guess what? A lot of people are dealing with. You may like a person you're with, but the person you're with treats everyone else like crap.
Mm.
What is that going to really do for your relationship? Because if you marry somebody you like, but they don't know how to treat other people, what could
Mm.
end up happening to your marriage? It can make it fall, right? So right now we're going off stimulation and not skill set. That's the reason why it's Netflix and Bill. Right now we've been entertained enough, I would say, because if you really look at, and I'm not looking at social. I'm not. I look. I pay attention to social media, but I don't use social media as the standard of what I'm looking at. I want everybody to hear what I'm about to say. I consult and mentor children for a living. I give therapy to adults for a living. I do consultations at churches and other religious organizations because that's where most of my elders are, right?
Right.
The direct conversations I'm having with people in reality, not just what people post, a lot of people just do not have the skills, and it is embarrassing. That's the reason why a lot of people rather complain than contribute. Complaining is much easier than putting in work. That's the reason why everybody's doing it. I'd rather say what you're not doing than me just up and get up doing. I'd rather complain that somebody didn't pick up a piece of trash than me saying, look, I respect myself enough to go and pick it up myself because I'm here. Does that make
Right.
sense? So
Right. That makes a lot of
it's yeah, so it's when it comes down to who's negative and who's doing the abuse, who that finger pointing, that's even entertainment. And I want people to hear me loud and clear. What you're seeing on social media about the finger pointing between men and women right now, it's entertainment. And if you're not careful, you're gonna find yourself drawing conclusions just like you did when you saw Beauty and the Beast.
sense.
It's gonna be the same conclusion. And we've already wasted 40 years from Disney. You don't want to waste the next 40 from social media.
Right. That's good, and I appreciate you bringing up the fact of how it affects the families, because I was going to ask you about that, and especially with the children, and I don't think people
Hmm.
start to see that because there's some things that you are seeing in children, like we talked about it, on another show about how they're mimicking things.
Hmm.
They see things and they say
Hmm.
adults are doing it, so it must be okay for us to do it. But what are some
Hmm.
of these other things? Because I think parents need to be aware of how their relationship could subtly be affecting their children, and then you're hearing it and seeing it maybe even in a different way than what this person would be expecting.
A lot of parents have no idea. Remember, body language is the first language, right?
Mm.
So you can
Mhm.
yell and scream at your kids all day. Kids observe your self esteem, they
Mm.
observe how you allow people to treat you, they observe how often you speak negatively about yourself. And I want y'all to hear me loud and clear. If you are talking negatively about yourself in front of your children, it does not make them feel good at all. Because guess who
Mm.
they came from?
Mm.
If you don't have any respect for you, it's going to be hard for them to go out into the world and say, you know, I'm beautiful if her mom keeps saying she's ugly every day. Now, remember, too, a lot of people's self esteem has been damaged so bad from what one person has said, they don't understand that they played a part of being a villain, too. because a lot of times people have repeated what they heard in fifth and sixth and seventh grade for 30 years.
Mm.
And that's one of the major things that I'm finding out. So if you have low self-esteem, it does affect your perception, right? Now, I want people to pay attention. And I look at social media, I pay attention to social media without replacing reality with it, right? But I do see something very prevalent. When people are saying something positive, you may have a one or two say, well, yeah, you can do all of that, and they will still cheat on you.
Mm.
Have you ever seen that before? Okay.
Mhm.
Now I have girls in middle school who rather, instead of getting to know people, they're telling other little boys, all you're going to do is cheat on me anyway. Okay. And not only this, the damaged image specifically of men, a lot of people don't know this, but there is a higher rate of physical abuse that's unreported. Now, it's witnessed and unreported. I want to be very clear about this because more and more I go around asking teachers, principals, and even police officers, young ladies are beating up these boys in these schools, but
Mm.
women do not get arrested. Okay. Now,
Mm.
and this is not an excuse. I'm not saying boys are innocent. What I'm saying, the abuse against boys is extremely unreported. So, guess what's happening? You have a lot of people who feel that it's entertainment to degrade men and boys, right? So now you
Right.
have that in your mind. And I'm going to be totally transparent here. And this is not a right or wrong, this is a cause and effect. That is the reason why when we are fighting amongst each other, and a lot of parents are wondering, well, I understand that kids may be of a different orientation, but now you got kids just experimenting. It's not what they're into. I said, well, if they have a complete negative image of the opposite sex, some of them
Mm.
are just based off cause and effect. I'm not even talking about orientation. We have
Right.
to be honest about this, right? Because some people will change it into, are you saying that kids are not that? I don't know everybody, so I can't tell you what I haven't met. I can guarantee I will tell you what I have witnessed. The young girls are saying, I don't want to be with a boy because they cheat, so I will date a girl. I have little boys tell, I don't mess with these girls because they don't like us, so that's the reason why I'm going. And I'm sitting up here like, all right, is that an attraction or a detraction? What is it? Because if it's an
Mm.
attraction, that's an attraction. But I'm telling you about the cause and effect of what these kids are seeing. Remember, I know a
Mm.
lot of people say how you feel. But when I tell you this, everything has a consequence, y'all. Everything. So no matter, yeah, you can say how you feel and you can have freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom to choose which consequence that comes with it. Consequences never have asked us for our vote before, and it
Right.
never will, right? So, what I have been seeing is we have a lot of confusion that's affecting our families.
Mm.
We have communication issues that has spilled over into the gender issue. Like we were talking a couple of weeks ago, someone said, "Well, a woman is being masculine." I said, "No, she's not being masculine. She's being rude."
Mm.
You see, you remember the sugar spice and everything nice conversation we had
Mhm.
before?
Right.
So a lot of people think that anything that someone does, if she's sugar spice and everything nice, it justifies behavior, and we have to stop doing it. We have a lot of women, period, and I'm not scared to say this because we see it. We have a lot of women who think they can do no wrong, and when they're destroying the family, people think they can't say nothing to her.
Mm.
Okay, now the father can get the police called on him immediately for emotional abuse, and I'm not blaming her. I'm just telling you what's going on in these families, right? The father is probably even not there, have been removed from the home, or anytime he has to have scheduled visits and supervised visits by someone else of the family. But verbal and emotional abuse is going on rampant in our families, right? So, what I'm
Mm.
asking everyone to do, even if I'm saying that women are doing it, it's being done by everybody. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because we believe that some emotional abuse, just because it comes from someone we've been told can't be wrong, we're allowing it to happen. And there's too
Mm.
many young kids who want to commit suicide based off emotional abuse and neglect alone. And so when I see social media, and it's fun to go back and forth, and you can't be wrong, and me ain't gonna cheat anyway. It's cool for entertainment, but when you're at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to talk a third grader, when your parent called me, hey, the police is on the way, can you say something to him? because yes, I said something to him that kind of triggered him. I'm mad at his father, and that's the reason why I kind of tear him down. Right now, I got parents that's bringing me their children, and I won't see their children until their parent goes through 6 weeks of therapy.
Mm.
And you can't bring me your child until you're honest with the child of why you're bringing them to therapy. You can't just drop them off after you damaged them. This ain't the Goodwill Restore. This ain't Habitat for Humanity Restore. This is not the Goodwill Donation Center. No, when you drop them off, you have to be accountable why you brought them here. You know,
Mm.
so that's what I'm seeing. The entertainment piece of it is very, very awkward. Is giving us a skewed way of looking at life. And like I said before, this is not all doom and gloom. There are several. Matter of
Right.
fact, I would like to go ahead and be on record of saying this. I believe there are much more functional relationships than there are dysfunctional,
Mm.
right? Because we don't
Yeah.
see everybody. It's a lot
Right.
of people who are just. I'll put like this: people who are functional and people who have things that work, they're and thing. Watch this: people who have relationships of value are private.
Mm.
That's what I want everybody to hear me. People who have relationships that have value are private. So
Mm.
when we are trying to measure relationships based off of what people show us, trust me, when people value something, they're not going to show the world like that. They're not even going to tell you what they're doing. Right now, people are going to rebut just us having this conversation because they think it's another relationship podcast because there's so much negativity going on with it. No, I put like I'll say this last sentence. I'll send it back to you. People have always told us it's not what you know, but what
Oh yeah, it's like we know. Mhm.
who you know. How many people date and marry people they don't really know because all they know
Mm.
is how they act when they're entertained.
Mm.
We don't know each other well enough to have expectations. How about this? It's not what you know, but who you know. How many people don't even know themselves,
Right.
let alone the people they decided to marry or be with? And this is, and I already said this, but let me close it with this. We are using marriage as entertainment. Okay, dating as entertainment. What is really breaking our families apart is we are procreating with strangers.
Mm.
That's what's going on. Now, I can't say that's the worst thing, but in my line of work, and hear me when I say this, whoever's listening, people are procreating with strangers and they use a child to get to know the adult.
Mm.
And that child does not deserve that. And these children, they know it. You don't have to tell it to them. But after a while, you keep talking about their father, or after a while, you keep talking about their mother. They're going to realize you don't know them.
Mm.
And how much respect can a child have for you if you don't even know the co-parent? I'll leave that question.
No, this is good, and I appreciate you saying that this is not all doom and gloom, and that there are a lot of functional relationships. And so now I want to pivot to our build part of this because we've
Hmm.
seen what some of this dysfunction has done. We've seen what happens when we don't really know who our partner is, or we may not know who we
Hmm.
truly are. But there's
Hmm.
something that we can do. Like if you
Yep.
don't know and you want to know, great. If you're in a relationship that seems to be doing fine, but you still want to kind of like spruce things up, there's always work to be done. There's always something that we can do so we can build. Talk about some of those tips that people can do because we know one of the key pieces is communication, all that kind of stuff. Talk about some of those things that people can do to kind of start this building process.
Gotcha. So I know when we watch March Madness, a lot of people heard of the Final Four, right?
Mm, mm-hmm.
So I call it the first four, the very
Mm,
first 4 dates. Okay. Now, and I'm writing this in my new book, and I want a lot of people to get ready for this because I think it will at least build a foundation. It will not build happiness.
mm.
That's what I want everybody to understand. This is not entertaining, what I'm about to tell you, but this is foundational. Okay. The very first date that you should go on is to meet the oldest or the elders of the family.
Hmm.
You meet the elders of the family. Why? Because they're going to probably know some information that the person you're dating don't even know.
Mm.
They probably know health history. They probably know behavior history. They probably know family traumatic history, the things that are still affecting the family that hasn't come out, but they see signs in their baby girl or their baby boy that y'all need to fix this because this is in our family. We have sickle cell, and they were like, "Big Mama, I ain't never know." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
people need to know because remember, we're procreating with strangers, so you need to know family history, right?
Mhm.
First date, who's the oldest person in your family, and if they don't talk to their family, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. I'm not saying don't date them, but you're not a victim if you don't ask.
Right.
You understand? So I always ask people, get to know the elder of the family. After you get the elder of the family, now remember, it's recreational. I am not naive. I am not going to be able to stop people from having intercourse. I'm not. Okay. What we're going to ask people to do is after you meet the elder, the second date needs to go to the health clinic.
Mm. Mhm.
Now, if y'all know y'all going to do it and y'all really already attractive, wouldn't it make it much more enjoyable if y'all knew biological statistics on each other? You
Mhm.
know what you about to get into. Isn't that more romantic than having to? It's almost like being naked in a casino. You don't know what's gonna happen. Like you, I mean, that was a very strange. That was a very strange analogy. That was a very strange analogy, but we're gonna keep moving. My analogies, they jump out. so 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 you got elders, right? Meet the elders. Then you go into the clinic. I would highly suggest going to a therapist. Have the same therapist, but go separately. Why?
Mm.
Everybody loves to entertain the therapist without telling the truth. One of the reasons why I say I will consult couples right now, but I don't consult couples at the same time. I consult them before I see them separately. Why? Because they get together and they will lie to you as a team. Next thing you know, you're seeing them one on one and they're telling you everything they couldn't say in front of the other person. Because what a lot of people don't know is you cannot remove politics from relationships. That's one thing I realized. Every time you're sharing, because right now you're responsible for your safety at the end of the day, right? So
Right.
anytime when you feel like any information is going to make you lose leverage, you're going to withhold information. So
Right.
that's a human trait. It's not a flaw. It's something that I know is not going to go away.
Excuse
So
me.
in order
Mhm.
for us to bless you, in order for
Thank
us to really get down to it, we need to be very intentional and private, right? So go to
you.
the same therapist, have maybe like 5 sessions individually, and then come back to the therapist together and hear them lay it everything out what they have heard y'all say. Because some of the put like this, you can be dating someone and still be more comfortable with a stranger telling them everything. Because dating is
Right.
politics. You don't want to
Yeah.
scare this person off. That's the reason why a lot of people show their representative, right? So guess what? If you're showing a person your representative, ain't that politics?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
politics. We, as long as if we're honest about it, we don't have to run from it, right? So now we got elder, we got the health clinic, we have the therapist. The last but not least, get a DNA screening.
Mm.
DNA. Y'all need to know if you related.
Mm. Mm. Mhm.
I don't care how many generations, fourth, fifth, sixth cousins. You need to know if you have traits of anemia. You need to know if you got traits of this, traits of that. You need to know it all.
Yeah.
Some people don't find out what's going on until they're bringing in a child.
Mm.
And you don't want to use a child for research purposes. They are human beings. See, a lot of people think the reason why children are mad is not because they're children, it's because we made them subjects without their permission. That's what's happening. We procreated with a stranger and used the child as leverage. And when it didn't work out, we let the child have to deal with our emotional abuse because we were reckless with our bodies.
Mm.
So that's the building part. That's the first four. And all of them can really let you understand whether you should share your body with this person or not.
Mhm.
Now, for the people who are naysaying, because I always hear negativity anytime I'm giving options. Options and advice is two different things. You're going to do with your life whatever you want. Nobody can stop you. However, based on what I'm seeing with these children, this is something we need to be. This is where we need to be at, right? First thing a
Mhm.
lot of people love to say, would you do did you do all of these? It doesn't even matter. That's the wrong question. Not did I do them, am I telling the truth? That's the question. Because a lot of people love to look at status instead of what you're saying. It don't matter what I've done or what I haven't done. Am I telling the truth or not? The truth will make you free. My status won't. I don't care if I did all four of them. If you don't do them, you still rolling the dice. You still naked in the casino. There you go again. No, okay. Let me find another analogy. I'm going to create one because I keep going back to casino nakedness. That's a chapter.
But your
First
4
four.
points are good though, because and when I just think about them, like meeting the elders, like you said, like these are some points that I've indirectly made to people about other things, just knowing their health. Because I'm like, you for yourself, you need to have these conversations with your family to know your health
Right.
history, to try to get more, to
Hmm.
see what's happening so we can figure out what's going on. The other piece about the health clinic, a lot of my young people, I tell them, listen, if you have not been intimate with anybody, then we need to go ahead and do your screenings now, because you know what you
Yep.
have and what you don't have, right? And then now you can present this information to someone else and say, okay, I need to see your papers because I need to make sure that you don't have. So
Right.
I am agreeing with what you're saying. And then this therapist piece, I'm
Right.
like, y'all get that too? Because I have couples
Yep.
who would come in, and there's, like when they come in together, there's one thing that happens, and then when they separate, it's like different information. So being
Yep.
able
Yep.
to, because right, so I'm like, I see exactly the same thing that you're talking about, so I can definitely co-sign on that. And then the DNA screening, that is another important piece. People have to, if they are concerned about that, then that's the conversation. Sit down with your healthcare provider, talk about what that looks like. There's some other
Hmm.
pieces that go into place with the DNA screening, because there is one thing that I want to let people know, because someone was asking me about it. One of the things you have to be aware of too, though, is like what's going to come out of it, because you may not get
Yeah.
what you think you're going to get. So then you
Hmm.
also want to make sure that you lock in like your life insurance information, all that kind of stuff, because if something
Hmm.
interesting falls out of that tree, then your life insurance said, nope, we're not covering this anymore, like, because we know that
Yep.
this could be on the horizon. So you just have to make sure that
Yep.
you start having those conversations with people. But I agree
Hmm.
with all of this, because these are all the different types of conversations I've been having with people. Thank you for that.
Facts. Facts. And
Yeah.
like I said before, and I thank you for just see. Remember, a lot of people don't have a platform to really just have a calm conversation about this. A lot of people just don't get it. Like we're dealing with a man and a woman talking about rebuilding families because the families are the priority. And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand this. A lot of people have prioritized a temporary emotion like happiness over building a generation. Because if everybody had to be happy in order for us to be here, we wouldn't be here.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Some people, a lot of people don't get this, man. Like a lot of people love speaking on relationships that we didn't have to witness, right? I know a lot of us have a lot of uh, statements and opinions about relationships that took place before we were born, right?
Mhm.
I see people, well, they had to be married in the 30s and 40s and 50s. I said, who are you talking about? Do you know their situation? Do you know we had love for each other? When you really sit down and talk to the elders, nobody was just sitting around skipping because people were getting lynched outside.
Mhm.
So before you start talking about what's happening on the inside, man, we got to really stop just having opinions about all of our elders like this. We're going to have to sit down and talk to them. Were all of them in love? No, they weren't. But did all of them work? Yes, they did. That's the thing. So we're really prioritizing emotions over our generations. And that's what's one of the biggest things. That's the reason why the families are getting smaller. people having less and less children, or people having children with people they don't know because their foundation was shaken at the very beginning because they don't even know who they're related to. It's hard to really respect your bloodline when you don't know it. Think about how many people don't even know their great grands or their great great grands. They don't even know their names, where they're from, what kind of business they were. Like, it's just a loss. People don't talk. And I will tell you this, a lot of people in families either don't know it or embarrassed that they haven't said it yet.
Mhm.
And if you're an elder listening to this right now, withholding information about your family, no one benefits from it. You got children around here running, trying to get self-esteem from strangers. Well, only thing you had to do was tell them their great great grand uncle owned all that land in Oklahoma.
Mhm.
And now they related to somebody who owned uh, 70 acres. And now guess what they're going to start asking once you told them that their family members was a landowner? Well, I need land. Then if that can happen, I'm related to that person. I could. Do you see how that works? So we got
Mhm.
to be very transparent. That pride, ego, selfishness, laziness is killing us. It's really,
Mhm.
it's really killing us. And this is not a race thing, y'all. These are, it's a character and skill set flaw. You understand? This is skill sets I'm talking about. I'm not talking about race. I've been around so many different ethnicities, national, whatever you want to call them. Problems are problems. Problems were here before race was. I hope everybody know that. Evil and good was here before race existed, right? So we're
Right.
dealing with real elements of humanity here, not just politics. We can hide behind our race if we want to. People can hide behind their race if they want to. You can hide behind your gender if you want to. It ain't gonna save you because that skill set is gonna expose you. It really will. So if you don't work, if you don't invest, you won't have any respect. And if you don't have respect, it's going to be easier for you to disrespect other people. When you disrespect other people, you're going to bring warfare on your family.
Mhm.
See, a lot of people don't get this. Your lack of communication skills can make you a trespasser. That's the reason why I even go to the Lord's Prayer. He already knew we were going to offend each other. Conflict was guaranteed.
Mm.
Forgive my trespasses. I forgive those who trespass. Trespassing is coming. So I think right now we need trespass practice. Like what to do when we get mad. A lot of people don't know. They just blow up, get space, cut people off. Because you ever seen people celebrating cutting people off? I've watched that so much. Yeah, I've cut so many people out of my life, and I was just like, yeah, you sometimes you cut yourself off because you were the problem, but go off. Like whatever you need to do to make yourself feel better about this. What they're saying is I'm isolating because I may not have really good communication skills.
Mm.
I done ticked off so many people. Then if I've told I can never be wrong, now I can mistreat them because I know ain't nothing wrong with me. See, you see how that works?
Yeah.
So this pride issue is killing us. And I will tell you this: people abuse power over people who are powerless. The most vulnerable group of people on the planet are children. I don't care about race and gender. Trust me, I'm aware of it, but I don't prioritize it. You send me a child, I see a person who did not pick their parents. They don't pick the house they live in. They don't pick their food. They didn't pick their language. They are just they are responding to the world that somebody brought them in. So as soon as we having these adult tug of wars, trust me, children are sitting there, they're just wishing somebody just tell them the truth for once, so they can have a shot at having a functional childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Like these, all these gems, like I'm picking them up because I'm like, oh, this is really good. These are all the pieces, the 4 tips that you gave and steps and stuff like that. I appreciate
Mhm.
it. Let them know because I see the Thrival Kit behind you. For those who don't know,
Yeah.
let them know about the book and kind of where they can find you.
Thank you so much. So Thrival Kit, the best teacher is always the best student. It's on Amazon, Books a Million, all where major books are sold online. It has an ebook version as well. Thrival Kit, the best teacher is always the best student, is basically a proactive outlook on life. Instead of waiting for things to happen, it's more about preparation instead of having a pep talk. It's not motivational. It's preparational, if that's even a word, right? So it's giving you a skill set. It's giving you a tool set. It's a kit. It really it is. It lets you know, hey, this is something that's coming your way. This is how to be ready for it. You can't run from it. People don't have to like you, but you do have to put in the work regardless of outside feelings. That's what the book is based off on. You can go to manhoodmindset.com to shop on there to look for the book as well. You can go, like I said before, you can Google or Amazon, but my website is manhoodmindset.com. What is manhood mindset? Well, it was a response to what people told me that they were looking for. They were looking for people who had enough courage and competency to communicate effectively. And a lot of people say, hey, we need real men. We need this. We need more men in the families. We need more men in the schools. That's why I named it that, because a lot of people ask for it. There's a reason why men are not in homes or in schools. And it's not just all men's fault. We have to look at history. We have to look at what has happened. We need to look at the anti-miscegenation law as a reason why you don't have a lot of male teachers, because that gender dynamic is what's fueling our education system. And it's not people's fault because we didn't write the law, but we are responding to a law that has been written ever since the 1700s. Does that make any sense? So
Mhm.
we have to be man enough to say what it is. Instead of pointing the finger at the people, we will point the finger at the problem. And that's why I deal with those problems. They can reach me on Instagram, Manhood Mindset, Twitter, same handle. I'm on LinkedIn under Dr. Marion Christopher Pugh. LinkedIn is something I'm really going to have to start utilizing more, because LinkedIn is where most of the business aspect and a lot of people who are really wanting people to come and talk with their audience. Like right now, I'm getting invited more and more by churches now. I did not plan that, but I'm preparing for it now. I didn't plan it, but I'm finding out how many churches have elders in it, and a lot of people don't know how to talk to elders, and a lot of elders don't know how to talk to other people, and that's the reason why it's a skill set. It's a skill set gap in a lot of places, and unfortunately for me, I was raised around a lot of elders, and I don't know everything, but I do know how to listen. But I do know how to teach elders how to listen to children, what a lot of elders have never been taught how to do. Right? It takes a specific skill set to do that. So, thank you so much for asking me how people can get in contact with me. I ask people to look me up on Google, my Google profile. One of the main things I want people to do is look at the reviews on Manhood Mindset as a Google profile. People can tell you all day what they do, but only people reviews are important, right? And I get that. When I go to a restaurant, the first thing I'm doing is looking at what? The reviews.
The reviews.
So even if you're wondering if I'm telling the truth or not, go see what strangers are saying, and let's work. Let's get these children back functional. Let's get these families back functional. Some people you're not gonna like. I'm not asking you to like anybody. All I'm asking you is not throw your generations away just because you had a temporary spat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Pugh. Listen, I know all of what you have talked about today, so people are going to have to rewind it and go back to it. But at the end of the
Great.
day, this is really some tools that you guys can use to have healthier relationships and ultimately a healthier you. The other thing that comes to mind is we all have been talking about generational wealth. Well, as he said, when you're looking for your partner, you need to start thinking about generationally, how is this going to look? How are we going to move forward? And all the other people that come behind us, how is this whole picture going to look? So make sure that you send this out to other people, share it, continue to follow. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you subscribe, because we will continue to put out this type of content and more. And until next time, we are wishing you much healing, and take care.